What's going on, Dodgers fans? This is the news you've been waiting for, and trust me, it's worth getting hyped about. I'm Jim Rodriguez, and you're tuning in to Dodgers Latest on this Thursday, and I cannot thank you enough for being here. The subscriber count keeps climbing, the views keep rolling in, and that's all because of you. So keep smashing that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share this with your fellow Dodger fans, and let's keep this momentum going. The algorithm loves engagement, and so do we. You can always hit me up on X and Instagram at JRodShow, and right here in the comments on Dodgers Latest. We read every single one and try to respond to as many as possible because you're what makes this channel special. Now let's get into the massive news that dropped late Wednesday night. The Dodgers have officially brought back Miguel Rojas on a one-year, $5 million deal. That's right, the World Series hero is returning to LA for what will be his final season in professional baseball. Rojas is going to be 37 years old in February, and after this upcoming season, he's hanging up the cleats. But here's the really cool part. The Dodgers have already set him up with a front office position in player development once he retires. He's going to stay in the organization helping mentor the next generation of Dodgers, and honestly, that's exactly where a guy like Miguel Rojas belongs. Let's talk about what he brings to this team beyond just being a roster spot. Rojas has been such an important mentor, especially to Mookie Betts when Mookie made that transition to shortstop. Miguel played second, short, and third for the Dodgers last season and was actually a finalist for the utility Gold Glove in the National League. His defensive versatility is incredible, but when you think about Miguel Rojas and what he means to this franchise, your mind immediately goes to Game 5 of the World Series. What he did in the ninth inning of that game might be the single greatest inning any Dodger has ever had in October. Top of the ninth, he crushes a home run off Jeff Hoffman to tie the game and bring the Dodgers back from the dead. Then in the bottom of the ninth, playing second base, he makes that stumbling, staggering throw to home plate to cut down Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and keep the game tied, forcing extra innings. Without that inning, there's no World Series championship. Without Miguel Rojas, this dynasty doesn't exist. People have legitimately debated whether that home run is the greatest in Dodgers history. Now look, Kirk Gibson's walk-off in the '88 World Series is iconic. Freddie Freeman's walk-off grand slam in Game 1 this year was unbelievable. But what Miguel Rojas did in that moment, coming off the bench after not starting in over a month, not getting a hit in over a month, and delivering in the biggest spot imaginable, that's top 3, maybe top 5 all-time for this franchise. That ninth inning perfectly captured everything Miguel Rojas represents. He stays ready. He's the definition of stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I tell my kids that all the time, and Miguel Rojas lives that mentality. We gave him some grief about the Van Cleef and Arpels necklaces and bracelets he wears, but you know what? That man has done more business for that jewelry company and for the Dodgers brand than anyone could have imagined. And now getting him back on a one-year deal is huge because he fills a real need at second base. We've been talking about how second base is kind of a question mark right now with Tommy Edman, and Hye-Seong Kim expected to share time there. Adding Miguel Rojas gives you veteran leadership, defensive excellence, and someone who can play short and third as well. His presence in that clubhouse cannot be overstated. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Miguel Rojas is going to be a manager someday. He could absolutely manage the Dodgers down the line. Dave Roberts has mentioned he might call it a career after 2029, so the timing could work out perfectly. Miguel staying in the organization through player development keeps him in the game and gives him that pathway to coaching and eventually managing. He's Venezuelan, he speaks Spanish, and we've seen him give advice to Shohei Ohtani despite the language barrier because the language of baseball is universal. Getting one of the good guys like Miguel Rojas back for his final season is fantastic for this organization. It's one thing for a manager or coach to teach you the game, someone who used to play and is telling you how it's done. It's a completely different thing when a current player, someone who's in the trenches with you every single day, in the batting cage, the clubhouse, on the field, when that guy is teaching you, that carries so much more weight. Miguel Rojas is essentially another coach on this roster, and you cannot put a price tag on that kind of leadership. Bringing him back for $5.5 million is an absolute steal, and keeping him in the organization long-term is smart business. Now let's shift gears to something that's got people talking. Is Teoscar Hernandez on the trading block? There are reports out there suggesting the Dodgers might be open to moving him. And with the winter meetings coming up in Orlando in just a few days, this could actually happen. Here's the thing. Teoscar is in that sweet spot contract-wise where he becomes very tradable. He just turned 33 years old and has 2 years left on his 3-year, $66 million deal with the Dodgers. He's making $12 million in 2025, $14.5 million in 2026, and there's a $15 million option for 2027 with a $6.5 million buyout. Some of that money is deferred, but the point is he's affordable and under team control, which makes him attractive in trade discussions. You can't argue with what Teoscar has done for this team. He's been a clubhouse leader, made a huge impact in his first year, hitting 33 homers and driving in 99 runs. Last season, he hit 25 homers with 89 RBIs, and over the last 2 postseasons, he's hit 8 home runs. The Dodgers have won the World Series both years he's been here, and he's been a great ambassador in the clubhouse, just like Miguel Rojas. There's no coincidence that when the Dodgers win, they've got a great clubhouse culture without a lot of drama or bad attitudes. That's why when you're talking about trades and free agents, you don't want to upset that chemistry. The devil you know versus the devil you don't. Do you really want to bring in guys who might not fit that culture? Maybe that's why Andrew Friedman takes so long making moves and sometimes doesn't pull the trigger at all. But here's the reality. If you were going to trade Teoscar Hernandez, Cleveland would make perfect sense. He'd join Jose Ramirez in the middle of that lineup, and the Dodgers would get Steven Kwan back in return. That would solve multiple problems. Kwan plays left field. You move Andy Pages to right field. Tommy Edman can play some center. And you've got Hyesung Kim and Rojas handling second base with maybe another acquisition in the mix. I'm not saying I want to trade Teoscar, but let's be honest about the situation. Teoscar in right field is not a good defensive option right now. He's struggled out there dropping balls and not getting to others. He's not a right fielder anymore at this stage of his career. Maybe he's better suited for left field or DH, but the Dodgers are seriously looking at not starting the season with Teoscar in right. Hopefully he stays and plays left, or maybe they find a trade partner where he can thrive. But the possibility of Teoscar Hernandez being on the trading block is very real. So who would the Dodgers target if they make a move? One name that keeps popping up is Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals. We talked about him at the trade deadline, and now he's back on the Dodgers' radar. The Cardinals are in full rebuild mode and looking to move pieces. There's also been talk about Lars Nootbaar, who was teammates with Shohei Ohtani on Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic. But let's focus on Donovan. He can play second base, shortstop, and left field. He actually won a Gold Glove in 2022, so he's proven defensively. He's got some pop in his bat, averaging about 10 home runs a year over the last 4 seasons. Last year, he hit .287 with 10 homers and 50 RBIs in 118 games. Here's what makes Donovan so attractive. He's under team control for the next 3 seasons, meaning he can't become a free agent. That's gold in today's baseball landscape. Just like having a player under contract for a couple of years makes them attractive in trades, acquiring someone like Donovan who's under team control is incredibly valuable. And that's why we've talked about Jason Dominguez and Steven Kwan, who are under contract. Donovan can't hit free agency for 3 years. He's only making about $5 million through arbitration, and he fits that Dodgers mold of multi-positional Swiss Army knife players. He can play left field, second base, and shortstop. Maybe he splits time at second with Rojas and Edman, while Edman also plays some center field if the Dodgers move Teoscar. Pages would shift to right field, and suddenly you've got a really flexible roster. The rumor I've been hearing is that the Dodgers might flip Hyesung Kim to the Cardinals for Brendan Donovan. That would be interesting because it raises the question of whether the Dodgers really believe Kim has a future here. He played about 70 games last year and didn't really get a chance to establish himself. The Dodgers seemed to think the game was too fast for him early on, which is why he started the year in the minors. He even played some outfield in the minors to try and find a roster spot. Eventually, he came up and played infield. But if they're willing to trade him for Donovan, that tells you they're not convinced he's part of the long-term plan. Donovan is a left-handed bat who could play every day in left field or fill that second base need if the big names like Dominguez and Kwan fall through. It's a fascinating situation as we head into the winter meetings in Orlando. Now, I want to bring in a comment from one of you because you're what makes this show work. Someone wrote that the Dodgers' strategy has never been to jump into the mud wrestling pit with 20 other GMs fighting over the same players. Their practice is to go carefully and quietly after a handful of guys they know will fit the team and actually improve it. They pointed out that the Dodgers whiffed on Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates in the bullpen last year, so they don't think Friedman is going to just throw money at people and expect it to work out. If a big name is wanted by enough teams that only money will land him, Friedman is going to look long and hard at recent physicals before making a move. I completely agree with that take. That's been the maddening part of Andrew Friedman's approach, especially at trade deadlines where we don't get big splashes, just small ripples. Last year they got Jack Flaherty at the deadline, but I think the biggest move was actually acquiring Ben Kasparius from Tampa Bay. Kasparius ended up playing a huge role as Freddie Freeman's backup when Freddie dealt with injuries, and he was solid behind the plate. The Dodgers non-tendered him after the season, hoping to sneak him through waivers and re-sign him cheaper, but Cincinnati immediately claimed him. That was a roster shuffle move that backfired because the Reds got themselves a good player. Anyway, the point is, the Dodgers operate differently than most teams. They're not penny pinching, but they're strategic about where they spend and who they target. We're heading into an interesting winter meetings period starting December 9th in Orlando. Everyone's watching to see where Kyle Tucker lands, where Cody Bellinger ends up, and what smaller moves teams make. Everything I'm reading suggests it's going to be less about free agency and more about trades for the Dodgers as they try to fill those spots in left field and second base. Will it be Kwan? Will it be Dominguez? Will it be Brendan Donovan? We'll find out soon enough. What we do know is that Miguel Rojas is back, which is fantastic news. And hopefully Teoscar Hernandez finds his spot with the Dodgers because he's been a huge contributor to these back-to-back championships. You've been a massive contributor to Dodgers Latest, and I appreciate every single one of you. Remember to hit me up on X and Instagram at JRodShow and keep those comments coming. Smash that like button, share this video, subscribe if you haven't, and tell your friends about the channel. I'm Jim Rodriguez. The weekend is almost here, and hopefully the Dodgers are doing their homework in preparation for Orlando. As always, it's time for Dodger baseball.